Welcome to Flourish in the Foreign, the award-winning podcast that celebrates, elevates, and affirms the voices and stories of Black women living and thriving abroad, while exploring living abroad as a pathway to wellness. I'm your host, Christine Job, a Black American woman with Trinidadian roots, a business strategist and consultant from Atlanta, living and thriving in Valencia, Spain. Hey everyone, welcome to Flourish in the Foreign. Welcome back. I'm your host, Christine Job, and today we are continuing our October spooky season mini-series. Yeah, I can't believe I'm continuing to do this. I can't believe I'm actually doing this. Here we go. So today we're diving into a topic that I know a lot of y'all out there are curious about. I get a lot of emails about this still, even though I've made several episodes about this. And that is, of course, dating abroad. Yeah. Specifically, we're going to talk about why your love life stinks. No, we're going to talk about why your love life may not be thriving while living in a foreign country and what you can do to cultivate a healthy and fulfilling dating experience abroad. So, if you've ever felt frustrated, confused, or even disheartened, oh no, about your romantic life since moving abroad, you know what, girl? This episode is for you. So let's get into this episode. So let's start with the question, why isn't your love life thriving abroad? I know, it's so intrusive. I am not your therapist, but I am going to ask you that question. There are a lot of factors that can contribute to dating frustrations when you're in a new country, a different country, a foreign country. First and foremost, many of us go into the dating world abroad or domestically with a lot of baggage that we refuse to deal with. And although this episode is not being sponsored by any therapist or therapy app, perhaps it should. I do think you need to address it. I don't know about resolve it, but definitely address it. Do I think you have to be healed to date? Hell no. No, I don't think that. But this is something that I know to be true, okay? Whatever cycles and patterns you have encountered while dating in your home country and you haven't gotten to the root issues and tried to address those, you will 100% reenact those in a different country. Yeah, you will. I dare say, I guarantee it. And I say that with the experience of living abroad for 7 years, having over 100 episodes. I have friends on 4 continents, maybe 5. Like, I've experienced a lot. I know a lot. Okay. And I say this with love. If you don't address those cycles and patterns, you will encounter them in a different country and you will think, no, this is different. This is new. And it's the exact same thing with an accent. That's it. That's it, girl. Okay. So there is that, okay? I do want to say though, before I continue on, my observations and my advice is definitely coming from a cis-het point of view, as that is who I am as a person. And so I just want to clarify, can it be different if you are queer? Yes, for sure. Although I do have queer friends and they be doing the same patterns as well. But it is a different dating landscape with a lot of different other implications and issues. So I just want to let you know that is where I'm coming from for today. Apologies if it's not helpful. As we continue on, I do think everyone has to address the baggage, okay? And after that, I think that a lot of us do go into dating abroad with some romanticized notions, okay? Some under the Tuscan sun kind of thing, some Stella got her groove back stuff. And look, maybe manifest it. You know what I'm saying? But I think it's important to be I want to say realistic, but I just want you to be clear about your intentions. And part of being clear with your intentions about dating is really understanding what your expectations are from dating. And a lot of us go into this dating in a new country with the same expectations we had in our home country. And this can really set you up for disappointment because dating culture is deeply rooted in local norms and traditions. Some countries don't have dating culture because they don't date. So, for example, if you're coming from the US, you might expect certain behaviors like paying for the first date, or at least from the southern part of the US, or specific ideas about chivalry. But in other cultures, dating dynamics can look very different, like in Scandinavia, where there is a big, I would say, cultural thread of equity. So you might find that in your dating experience. You may not find what you would call chivalrous behavior. And someone may not pay for your first date because they think that they're showing you more respect by not. So you might find that dating abroad requires you to be more flexible and open to new cultural norms. And if you're like, no, well, okay, then I would suggest you take the advice from Latrice. She is a guest in season 1, episode something in the 40s, I do believe. I don't know the exact one. But she was also featured in the Dating Abroad series, Dating Abroad Part 1, Dating Abroad Part 2. And she is in Rome, Italy, and she discussed kind of her dating philosophy based on one's aesthetics and where they should go in the world. So my thing is that this is the type of investigation that you probably should have done before you decided on a country. Yeah, if dating abroad was extremely important for you, finding a partner, and you were not flexible or open to new cultural norms when it comes to dating, then you needed to do your research about the places that your values and your dating expectations most closely align before you go. Okay. And also to Latrice's point, her advice was fairly provocative, but I actually think there's a grain of truth where she is very much like, whatever your aesthetic is, whatever you look like, go to where that is naturally celebrated, body types, skin tones, things like that. And I do think there is truth in that. Now, there's going to be so many people that are like, but I found whatever here and whatever there. Okay, there's truth in that too, outliers, but I do believe in being honest with what you want and your intentions and aligning yourself appropriately and not trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. You know what I'm saying? So, when you bring your home country dating expectations into a new environment, you might find yourself disappointed because people aren't following the same quote unquote rules you're used to. For example, the casual dating culture in the US or UK may not translate well in places where dating is more formal or where relationships move at a different pace. Or another example, in Brazil, people make out quite regularly and quite quickly. And it's a culture in which making out doesn't necessarily mean so much. It doesn't mean like we're going to go together. It just means that I thought you're hot and I want to make out. And so we made out. And so if you look to a culture like France, where although people aren't quick to put labels on things, there is like societal and cultural expectations. So if you go out with someone and then you're making out with this person, there's this kind of cultural expectation like you guys go together. right? They're kind of like, I'm not making out with people I'm not going to go together. Now, are there makeout bandits in France? I'm sure. I'm not sure if people still use makeout bandit. I feel like that has dated me, but that's what we used to say in college. Are there people in Brazil who are like, I do not know where your mouth's been and I do not participate in that? 100%. But you see, like, there's different cultural norms, okay? So you might expect a certain level of emotional availability or behavior that just isn't typical in your new country. So I think it's so important for you to let go of your home country dating norms, or at least research how they're different to the current country that you're in order to take that first step towards thriving romantically abroad. Okay? So, another thing to be aware of is the fine line. I'm not sure how fine it is, but the line between being adored and being revered, which we all love, and being fetishized. As a Black woman living abroad, I know that this is a big concern for many of us. And you want to feel celebrated and appreciated for who you are. But unfortunately, in some places, people may exoticize you because of your race, your nationality, your features, your appearance. It's important to recognize when someone is genuinely interested in you and who you are as a person versus when they are seeing you through a lens of stereotypes or fetishization. To be fetishized can make dating abroad even more frustrating because it leaves you feeling like you're not being seen for who you truly are. So you need to pay attention to how people talk to you and what they focus on, okay? If their compliments always center around your skin tone or your foreignness, that's a red flag, okay? My friends can call me chocolate goddess, chocolate bar, da 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 da, okay? Someone I do not know or I'm getting to know, you cannot call me chocolate nothing. You can call me Christine. And that is honestly pushing it. I might require you to call me Miss Job. Okay. This is something to be aware of. I remember one of our guests on the show, Ayana, who is in Osaka, Japan, season 1, episode probably in the 50s. And she's talking about her experience dating in Japan and how she had fallen into a group that had really liked, I think it was reggae. And she thought, "Oh, okay, these are cool people, whatever." But she quickly understood, like, one of the guys that was showing her interest kind of only gave her that interest because he was trying to complete his reggae lifestyle. I don't know. Like, he was trying to show or be more authentic by having a Black and Caribbean girlfriend. And that sounds crazy as I said it, but that's what happened. Okay. So be aware, right? Be vigilant that people are seeing you as a person. They want to get to know you. And it is a fine line because you may be quite quote unquote exotic for wherever you are. And that draws looks, and people are like, wow. And I know all of you, all my listeners are gorgeous. So, you are used to this, okay? You are used to people fawning over you. You just need to use a little bit more discernment because realizing that people just see you truly as like some type of object or some type of symbol, that is not good for cultivating a life well lived. And obviously, how deep of a connection can you create with someone? That is very bad for your love life. Hey everyone, I hope you're enjoying this episode of Flourish in the Foreign. And if you are, be sure to share this episode and, of course, support this podcast. You can do so by buying me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/flourishforeign and leaving me a nice note. I love when you guys leave me notes like that. It makes me feel so nice. You can also support this podcast by leaving a review of this podcast podcast on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify. Fun fact, Spotify now gives me the option to respond to your comments. So if you listen to this podcast on Spotify, you can leave comments, suggestions underneath each episode, and I can respond to you, which is really cool. It's a little bit more interactive that way. So be sure to do that. Also, make sure that if working with me in the Move Abroad with Intention coaching program is a priority for you, make sure that you get in contact, okay? Yes, do that. And if you're interested in starting your own business, check out my free training from marketable skill to business and get started today. All right, let's get back to this episode. Another challenge in dating abroad is navigating different lifestyle or economic expectations. So, depending on where you are, there may be different standards around what is considered a normal lifestyle, a luxurious lifestyle, or financial expectations could be different between you and your potential partners. Okay. So, in some countries, dating may come with the expectation of financial support, or you may find that you and your partner come from very different economic backgrounds, which can complicate things. So I think having open and honest conversations about these differences early on is key to avoiding misunderstandings down the line. It's important to be clear about what you're comfortable with and what your expectations are, but it's also important to be open to understand your partner's perspective, okay? If you're moving somewhere where the cost of living is considerably lower than where you're coming from, I think that's a good hint to there may be economic disparities. If you are not earning in the country or in the country's currency, that might also be a good indicator that there might be economic disparities. So I think it's important for you to understand how important is that for you. Do you want to be a sugar mama? Because you know what? It ain't tricking if you got it. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. If that is not, if that does not feel comfortable to you, then you may need to be a little bit more focused on who you decide to date in that country. They might be other foreigners, right? They might be, it just might be that kind of thing. That is something to think about because I feel like there are some people who are just very smitten with having some type of romantic rendezvous and they just want to have that, which is great, have it. But in the practicalities of a relationship, I think these types of things come up, right? So, hey, you do you. It ain't tricking if you got it. If you feel comfortable, do it. If you don't, you might need to pause and think about that a little bit more deeply. And then there's the challenge of dating in a different language. Yeah. Even if you're fluent in the local language, there are nuances in communication, especially in romantic or like emotional kind of context that can be hard to navigate. Cultural differences in how people express affection, flirt, or communicate expectations can add layers of complexity to dating abroad. Okay. Season 1, I believe episode 13, I was talking with Jackie, who is a OG slow mad, and she was then in Guatemala with her daughter, and we were talking about dating abroad. And Jackie is fluent in several languages. She's fluent in Spanish. She can date in Spanish, but she prefers not to because there's just aspects of her personality and aspects of who she is in as a romantic partner that she doesn't necessarily feel gets expressed in Spanish. And I think that is something that a lot of people who speak other languages can also attest to. It goes to this theory like you have a different personality in each language you speak. You know what I mean? Like, for instance, in Spanish, I am much more direct and yeah, like I'm much more direct and not as fun. Not that I'm not as fun, but I feel like a big difference between who I am in Spanish and in English is that I'm considerably less funny in Spanish and I am very direct in a way that I'm not in English because I think it would be seen as rude in English and in Spanish it's not. And especially in Spain, it's not. I think also something to think about is a lot of people are like, oh, the fastest way to learn a language is just get you a boo that speaks that language. And you know what? I'm sure that helps for some people, but as someone who has dated someone, um, I've dated someone who is Spanish. I don't think that was really helpful because the person has to be like really willing to teach you. And when you're dating, it's not really like a teaching kind of situation. Like you're trying to communicate like all the time. So I don't know. That's my 2 cents about it. But it's something to think about. Do you feel comfortable communicating deeply in a foreign language? I will say this though, and I've actually had several girlfriends tell me they do this as well. If you get upset, you might switch to your native language. And I'll speak for myself. I won't implicate my friends. But like I'm one to like say something flippant and be like throw some kind of like Atlanta slang and say something real slick, real smart. And the upside to having a partner that is fluent but doesn't really understand like the colloquialisms of your native language is that they'll be like, "Wait, what did you say?" And it gives you that brief pause for you to decide if you are going to repeat what you just said and then explain what kind of mess you just said. So there is that. There's like a little buffer window there. But here's the thing for all the complexities, dating in a different language can also be an adventure. It requires patience. Humor would be helpful and definitely a willingness to embrace the awkward moments. Yo, there's so many awkward moments. Just think about like language learning and how embarrassing it is just all the time, because that's how it is. But then think about that when like you're trying to be, I don't know, cute or sexy, or you're just saying something, they're like, what the hell are you talking about? You need to have some humor for sure. So it's about finding ways to connect beyond words and appreciating the learning curve definitely as a part of the experience. So here are your signs that your love life is actually thriving abroad, okay? One, mutual respect and shared values. This is universal, but I'm going to say it again for you being abroad. You feel like your partner respects you for who you are and you share similar values. Even if your cultures are different, you feel seen, heard, and valued, and beyond all the surface level traits of like, you so fine, you so great. And I want to reiterate this because I think that what I've seen is that a lot of people give a lot of space for cultural misunderstandings, and sometimes giving a lot of space for cultural misunderstandings or even language misunderstandings gives you a lot of space to be disrespected. Okay. Because you're like, maybe I don't understand. You understood, girl. You got it. You got it. Okay. The second thing I think is that you feel celebrated, not exoticized. Now, when it comes to language, sometimes people don't know how to articulate their celebration. And so, especially if you are not from that area or you don't look like anyone from that area, and people are like, you were just beautiful and you look like a chocolate bar. And you're like, okay, all right. I mean, thank you. But, you know, so you have to figure that out. Are you being celebrated or are you being exoticized? So you should know that your partner isn't with you because of some exoticized fantasy, but because they genuinely connect with you on a deeper level. They're not trying to try you out. This is not the food court. You're not giving out free samples, okay? You feel celebrated for your unique qualities and not fetishized for your background. They're not asking you, like, can you twerk? What? Or can you sing? Have you seen Sister Act? Can you sing? Can you sing gospel? Okay. A third sign that your love life is thriving abroad is that you have balanced conversations about lifestyle and financial expectations. You and your partner can have open, honest conversations about lifestyle choices and finances. You're on the same page about what's important to you in your relationship and how you navigate the different expectations of your cultures. Who's paying and why? Or we're both paying or whatever. This is very upfront and open and honest. The fourth sign that your love life is thriving abroad, I would say, is that you're navigating your language barriers with ease. So even if there's a language barrier, you and your partner are able to communicate effectively and find ways to connect emotionally and intellectually. And there's a sense of humor and patience as you navigate language differences. I also want to say is that you're not communicating just via Google Translate. I'm putting it out there. You are actively learning their language, no matter how difficult it is, okay? You are actively learning it. I think it's a sign of respect. And I think it's a sign of actually wanting to get to know your partner because just like, as I said, Jackie and even I sometimes have trouble really expressing myself the exact way I want to romantically in another language. Your partner might also feel that way too, okay? So that is really important. So, how can you cultivate a thriving love life abroad? You are definitely going to let go of those home country dating norms, okay? You're going to release them. You're going to release them and you're going to be open to learning and embracing new dynamics in your host country, okay? This flexibility will help you navigate the dating scene with less frustration. Or if you refuse, you're going to get on a plane and you're going to visit somewhere else that has a similar dating culture in which you're accustomed to. All right. You are going to be aware of fetishization. You're going to pay attention to how you're being treated. You're going to make sure your partner is interested in you for the right reasons. You are not going to be easily impressed by, I don't know, some whack ass flattery or whatever. Like, people hit on you every day. You've been that girl before you moved abroad. This is not new. So do not fall for the weak shit. Okay. All right. And I want you to not be afraid to have a direct conversation early on. And I don't want you to be afraid to walk away from some weird ass exoticization, fetishization situation. Third, I want you to communicate openly about cultural differences, okay? About money, about meeting parents, about being married, not being married, about sex. I want you to be very open about that from the very beginning. Okay. And how about this? I didn't say that. Not only about sex, about expectations around sex, about contraceptive use around sex, about abortion, about everything. I want you to have this early on. Okay. Because again, it's all funny and cute and ha ha ha, hee hee hee. You're so cute. And you have an accent. And you have an accent. Ha ha, we're so cute. Okay. But we're talking about thriving love lives. We're not just talking about fling. This is, you know what I'm saying? You don't need advice for flings. All right. You got that. But we're talking about thriving, like romantic relationships. Okay. Let's all be adults here. And then, of course, I want you to embrace language. I want you to learn another language. I want you to learn your partner's language. Okay. And I want you to be patient with yourself and your partner as you navigate communication and find the joy in the process of learning together, which it is very funny. So take some time today to reflect on your dating experiences abroad. What expectations from home might you still be holding on to? And how can you be open to new dating dynamics in your host country? I want you to let me know. I'd love to hear your stories. I'm newly on Threads. Yeah, it took me forever, but I'm on Threads. So you can find me at Flourish Foreign. Yeah, it's the same as Instagram. Share your dating abroad experiences using the hashtag Flourish in the Forum on social media. And if you're looking for some more tips on thriving abroad, be sure to subscribe to the newsletter at flourishintheforeign.com. And please note that the doors are still open for Move Abroad with Intention group coaching. The doors close October 12th. We talk about everything and even dating abroad a little bit. about how to go abroad, how to prepare to go abroad, how to be abroad and cultivate a life well lived. Join the final and actually only cohort of 2024. And I'd love to see you. I'd love to see you there. You can learn more information and sign up at flourishintheforeign.com/MAI-course. And all the information will be in the description of this here episode. Big thanks to Zachary Higgs for producing the music of this podcast. And remember, it is not about moving abroad, and it surely isn't about being abroad. It's about thriving abroad. It's about flourishing abroad. So go abroad and cultivate a life well lived. See you next time. Bye.